Everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Friday. It's December 6th. It is 2024. We have a 7-game NBA slate to talk about here on today's podcast, joined as always by my good buddy Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, what's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, brother. I'm actually pretty excited to come on this pod. NBA Cup, a success yet again. I guess this isn't technically a cup slate, but it's just, man, leading into next week's team. I'm pretty excited about this year's cup. Looking at the teams that are in it, I'm excited. So just glad to come on. I know we're not talking like cup specific today, but I think the cup is continuing to be a big hit, man. I'm enjoying the ride.
I hope they continue to do it. Meaningful games in November for NBA it's awesome. I mean, we kind of get a preview of what the season has in store for us, I feel like more stars kind of played through being a little banged up with the cup going on too, which I think is good for the fans and for everybody in general. So all right, 7 games, a lot of question marks. Oh my gosh, I was looking at it pre-slate, and I was like, man, one of these times we're going to come on here and we're not going to have a ton of injury news, but that's not the case today. We get started in Philadelphia. It's Orlando at Philly, 210.5 total. Orlando a 2-point favorite. Paulo remains out, Harris is out, and then on the Philadelphia side, Drummond's questionable and Embiid is out. I thought it was interesting. We talk all the time about how in November November and December, we don't necessarily know where teams are at. But I mean, Philadelphia is 5-15 to start the year. And I think a lot of people had much more expectations for Philly. Starting here with Orlando, anything that you like here going into Philadelphia?
So they're doing some weird stuff here with Goga. And let me tell you why I say that, Stevie. So I don't know where his minutes are going to land specifically. Feels like he should play 25 to 30 minutes, but maybe they're trying to back off. I mean, Yabusele maybe Wendell Carter Jr. is a better matchup for him than Goga. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle Goga. Franz is still 9,500, so he's worth the price. I don't want anybody to think that, but he's still priced up. Jalen Suggs has kind of been my sneaky guy, but he's not flashing a lot of upside with a lot of these other guys stepping up. So I'm not thrilled about the Magic today. I don't see the value. I've been somewhat interested in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and he'll probably pop, but I'd much rather get him at 3,800. I mean, 4K is fine. Don't get me wrong. He's played enough minutes, and they could need him to score here. But just generally speaking, outside of Wendell Carter Jr. at 5,100, I'm not really thrilled about the Magic today.
Yeah, I think Franz is probably right where he should be price-wise. I think that there's not a lot of meat on the bone. I feel like that chicken wing has been nice and polished off. So I don't love Franz. I love Franz. As a Magic fan, I love Franz, and I think that he's playing incredible basketball right now, but I just don't think there's a lot of stealing at his price. We saw Jonathan Isaac the other night play 14 minutes against Philadelphia and just absolutely ball. He had 20 fantasy points at half. He had an incredible first half. The game went small. We didn't see a lot of Mo Wagner and Goga late in that game. The game just kind of went small. We saw Wendell Carter play, I think it was 32 minutes for the first time in a long time. And the game just went small with Drummond. With Drummond and Embiid out, Yabusele ended up playing 36 minutes, I think, in that game. And the game just went small overall. And I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen again. So I think I want to stay away from Goga and Mo Wagner. And Mo Wagner is someone that I've been taking shots on here a lot recently. He had a lot of upside. If anything, I'm taking shots on Wendell Carter Jr. at 5,100. Hoping we get the same kind of minute upside from him. But overall, I'm with you. I don't have a lot of interest in my Magic in this spot. Projected to be one of the slowest paced games on the slate as well. Philadelphia side, I mean, if Drummond sits again, I think we go right back to Ubasele. I did not realize that he's still 6K. Prices, I think he's kind of priced right too. I mean, maybe I don't love anything here from Philly either. Yeah, I mean, Paul George expected to play in this game. Maybe I don't love anything from Philly. Maybe this is just a game where I'm like, right off the 7 o'clock game and start my slate at 7:30.
Yeah, I don't hate that call either. I think for me, the only person I'm really interested in, I don't mind Oubre because of the minutes, Stevie. So I think he's cheap enough, and I kind of don't mind Paul George because Paul George is back to playing normal minutes. And at 7,600, I think he's got some upside with no Embiid. But outside of that, I do feel like Maxi's pretty much where he should be. McCain's where he should be. Yabusele is now where he should be. So I'm not really thrilled about everyone else. If Martin was playing, closer to 30 minutes, I'd probably be more interested. He's played, reasonable minutes in terms of real life, but for fantasy, I think he needs like 30 minutes to really get there. So it's Paul George and it's Oubre because of the price, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if Paul George plays though, don't you think that kind of hurts Oubre? I think it hurts Maxi's ceiling. Like, yeah, I mean, just not really. I'm just not in love with anything from either side of this game here night before. Maybe something changes and, we look at this game a little bit more. But as of right now, first look for this game, probably my least favorite game on the slate. We go to Atlanta. It's LA versus Atlanta, 233 total here. Atlanta, a 3.5-point favorite. I mean, the Lakers were a team that we were talking about a lot to start the season. Kind of slowed down here a little bit. Anthony Davis probable. Jackson Hayes remains out. LeBron questionable. Reeves already ruled out, and Vanderbilt and Wood remain out. And then on the Atlanta side, I mean, they're good to go. Trae Young's probable with the right Achilles tendonitis or whatever. And as someone that just is in the process of healing from that, it sucks. It hurts. I can't imagine playing basketball with my Achilles tendonitis. So wish the best for Trae Young. Not playing him in DFS anytime soon. Lakers side of this game, Will. I mean, if LeBron sits, it's just play Anthony Davis as much as possible. I mean, that's my first read here. D'Angelo Russell, someone we've been talking about a lot lately. Reeves is already rolled out. I think we could potentially look at D'Angelo Russell in this spot. He is priced up a little bit, but I don't know if he's priced up enough yet. What's your initial read here on the Lakers?
Yeah, and listen, Stevie, if we would have opened this thing and saw D'Angelo Russell at 4,500 again, DraftKings just would have been wrong. So I do think this price increase is correct. Do we see how beat on the bone? Yes. Whether LeBron plays or not, Reeves already out. Russell at 5,400 against the Hawks in Atlanta. Up-tempo game. Sign me up. Even if LeBron plays, I think it's AD full steam. We haven't seen a really big game from him in a couple games. And by really big, I'm talking about 60-plus. Like, he's been in the 50-something, but we haven't seen 60 since maybe about a week and a half ago. I do think this is a great spot for him against the Hawks because he really doesn't have anyone that can actually guard him. Like, yeah, Capella's a big guy, and yeah, Okongwu will be out there. He'll probably get some switches on Jalen Johnson because Johnson's just more athletic. But generally speaking, Stevie, who in the world is going to stop AD on this team actually? And the answer is nobody. So I like AD quite a bit today.
To be fair, though, if you think about it, just NBA in general, if you think about all the teams in the NBA, I would say maybe 8 to 10 guys that you're can play AD, step for step. And that's why, that's why at the beginning of the season we were so excited about what JJ Redick was doing with AD, running the offense through him. And it was exciting. I mean, we were seeing 30 to 35% usage, and you look at the last 5 games for them, he's only had usage over 25% one time, and that was against the Jazz. He had a 33-11 game. So I think it's back to the drawing board, and I think that if you're JJ Redick, you've lost 3 of your last 4. You've lost, what is it? I think they've lost 6 of their last 8. So it's back to, hey, what was working earlier this year? And what was working earlier this year is running the offense through Anthony Davis. So, a matchup against Atlanta, I think this is an excellent spot to reestablish what was working for the Lakers. So I think even if LeBron plays, I have some interest in Anthony Davis today. Also, I do want to mention Hachimura. He should be in line for really solid minutes. You just got to throw out the Miami game. The Lakers got absolutely smashed.
Yeah, they got crushed
by the Heat. Oof. Yeah, it was ugly. So throw that game out. Don't mind Hachimura. Atlanta side, I mean, I kind of already said it. I have firsthand experience with Achilles tendonitis. I'm literally just got out of a boot a week ago from dealing with the same thing, and it's incredibly painful. And like I said, I can't imagine playing basketball. We haven't really seen Trae Young have an explosion game since this has kind of popped up over the last 3 or 4 games. So, could Trae Young go out and ball out? Yeah, he's obviously much better athlete than me. Jalen Johnson is the guy that I continue to play for the Hawks. His price point is a little up there. I think Dyson Daniels is kind of priced where he needs to be. We should mention that Bufkin has been back for the last 4 or 5 games, and they've been getting him minutes. Just nothing really standing out to me outside of Johnson, and that's kind of it. Maybe Capella. But I hate the split between Capella and Okongwu, but I really like what Capella's been doing here recently.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the secondary guys, which for me would be Bogdanovich and Hunter. I think they're cheap enough to where if one of them goes off this game, either of them gets to 30 fantasy points, that's pretty good. So, but that's it for me, man. I'm not. As much as I like the matchup against the Hawks, I don't know if I mentioned Dalton Connect, but I do think if LeBron were to sit, Dalton Connect's ownership is going through the roof. It's going to be insane.
Oh yeah.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If that happens, maybe I'm a little bit more intrigued with some of these guys from Atlanta. But generally speaking, I just want the cheap guys right now.
All right, moving on. We got Milwaukee at Boston, 230.5 total in this game. Celtics, a 6.5 point favorite. Injury report for Milwaukee. Chris Middleton is probable. I thought that was really interesting. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Can he just complete the rest of this season without getting hurt?
I would love to see that as a fan, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We really haven't seen the Bucks in totality for an extended period of time since Dame got there. Man, this could be an interesting team down the stretch if they really are all healthy.
You can say that about a lot of teams in the NBA, though, right? If they could just stay healthy.
New Orleans
on the Boston, yeah, Boston side, Al Horford, Porzingis, and Tatum all questionable coming into the slate. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks here. Middleton, he's been out. I can't remember when he got ruled. It was late last season, I feel like. It wasn't, but debut, I would assume he plays 15 minutes. That seems like, in my head, that seems like the number 15, 20 minutes here, but really haven't seen anything. I can say this with certainty. He's 6,600. He's probably the easiest fade on the slate for me at this price point. Anything that you're liking here for the Bucks?
Well, look, man, I know we didn't get a Giannis performance in the Detroit game, Atlanta game. No, yeah, Detroit. He still put up 47 fantasy points. I bring that up, Stevie, to say even in a down game, he put up 47 fantasy points in 28 minutes. So this game should be competitive. It's at Boston. I don't really care. I think Giannis is I think he's playing at an elite fantasy point level right now, Steve, in terms of his production. And at 12K against Boston, I think it's great for tournaments because I don't think anybody wants to do it because it's Boston. And I'm willing to do that tonight.
Yeah, so I prefer Anthony Davis over Giannis. Just
absolutely.
At first glance, I prefer Anthony Davis over Giannis. I think when Lillard and Giannis are both just playing good, I feel like neither one of them. They just kind of cancel out each other's ceiling, and now we're like adding Chris Middleton into the mix a little bit as well. Brook Lopez's price is up a little bit. Bobby Portis, if he were playing 25 minutes, I'd play him every night because I think that he has upside. It'd be interesting to see what happens with like Prince and Trent. I feel like one of those two guys are going to lose some minutes here with Middleton coming back, even if Middleton only plays, sub 20 minutes. So I'd probably pass on Milwaukee today, but I hear your take, and I don't necessarily disagree. I don't think that, the studs from Milwaukee will have a lot of ownership against Boston. And it could potentially be a better matchup too if we get news that Tatum ends up sitting, or Porzingis and Tatum. So let's go to Boston side here. We got Tatum, Porzingis, and Horford questionable. If all three of these guys are out, just start loading up on Jaylen Brown and Pritchard. White, like all these guys would be very interesting. Pritchard, over 33 fantasy points in 5 straight games. The guy has just been shooting threes like it's going out of style. I don't know if you noticed or if you saw it, but double-digit 3 attempts in 5 straight games for Pritchard. What do you like here for Boston?
Well, I like a lot if these guys are out. Interestingly enough, Stevie, Peyton Pritchard is more expensive than Drew Holiday. Boy, life comes at you fast. Derek White, 7,100. I think that's definitely a price for Tatum in the game being out. Jaylen Brown, 8,600. To me, that's definitely – he's been around there all season, but if those guys are out, then that's where we want to take some shots. I think the main thing, if Tatum sits, I'm still on board with all these guys. Like, even if Porzingis plays, for what it's worth, Stevie. Even if Porzingis plays,
I would bump up Porzingis if Tatum's out.
Yeah. He's 7,500. So, I'm fine. I'm kind of fine with any of these guys. If Tatum sits, if he's in, then I'm kind of not thrilled about anyone.
Yeah, it's kind of where my initial read is too. If Tatum's out, I have some interest. I think regardless, I would take some shots on Pritchard for what it's worth, just because of like how much he's like shooting right now.
Yeah.
Even at 5,800. So, over 19 actual points in 5 straight games. When you play on an offense,
get his own team. Does he pull a Jalen Brunson and go somewhere else? Like that's the question for me with Pritchard long term.
He has a ring now, so is someone going to pay him more than Boston? I could see that, but I don't know what his contract situation is either. But I think overall, Pritchard he's been a really good addition to Boston and what he's been doing here.
Yeah.
All right, we got Pacers and Bulls is where we go next. 245.5 total in this game. Pacers a 3-point favorite. Chicago on the second end of a back-to-back. Jackson, Neesmith, Shepard, Wiseman out. Nembhard questionable. Kobe White sat on Thursday against the Spurs. We'll see if he's back. Lonzo got the rest, so I assume that it was a front-end back-to-back rest situation for Lonzo, and he'll play this game. And Patrick Williams has already been rolled out for Thursday and Friday, so we know he won't play in this game. Going here to Indiana first, a lot, right? Chicago has just been the team that we have picked on all season long. They play at an incredibly fast pace. They don't play defense. They allow the most fantasy points per game to opposing teams. Chicago, Washington, and Utah has kind of been the cheat code this year. Those are the 3 teams that you feel very comfortable picking on every single slate. Let's go Pacers here first, Will. A lot of these guys I feel like are in play today.
Yeah, man. I've been playing Hallie at this price, hoping that the 60-point games will kind of come in bunches. Boy, Stevie, if I played them all these other times, got to play it tonight against the Bulls. I'm not taking that fade. I've kind of had this thing for Pascal Siakam because he's been in the lower 7K range. And I think he'll be fine tonight, Stevie. 7,800 though, man. He's just not consistently hitting upside enough for me. I'd rather play Miles Turner for cheaper at 6,700. That's kind of where I am with this team. But I'm certainly playing Benedict Mathurin against the Bulls. I'm not Benedict. Tyrese Halliburton against the Bulls.
Yeah, I like Halliburton a lot in this spot. Miles Turner and Siakam, I feel like, are just kind of killing each other's ceiling. I think, like, if you're going to play either one of those guys, make a group on Lineup HQ at 0-1 and don't get them on the same team together. Yeah, I mean, nothing on the cheap end that's like jumping off the page to me here. Walker really hasn't done much with like his production or like his minutes that he's gotten. Furpy had a really solid game the other night against Brooklyn. He played 25 minutes. I don't know if I trust that at all, unless Numhard is out. But overall, I think this is a Halliburton game. I haven't really played a lot of Halliburton this year, but I think this is a Halliburton game. On the Chicago side, waiting to see, obviously, on White. If White sits, go back to AU here. I think he had a huge game, what Derek was saying in chat. He had a huge game on Thursday night. I don't love this spot for Zach LaVine, so I think it's more of like a Vooch, AU, or White, like whoever plays type of situation. Lonzo still not playing enough minutes, I think, even at 4,500. I think you're paying up for the Bulls in this spot.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I could play LaVine, man. And I actually think this game he could get off. It's just the minutes, the production is just not where it needs to be consistently enough. So as much as I like this game, Stevie, not really thrilled about the Bulls. Now, you mentioned Vooch. I love Vooch. Why do we love Vooch, Stevie? Minutes are pretty stable, playing around 30 to 35 minutes most games, and this game should be competitive. So Vooch would probably be my primary here. I don't mind Kobe White as long as he plays. And then, we're mentioning Ayo. I mean, I'm fine with him if guys are out, but if all these guys suit up, I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah.
But Steve, there's got to be some production coming from somewhere. The total in this game is ridiculous.
Oh, I mean, that's why I kind of like Vooch. And like AU, I didn't realize he had a huge game. And Dave in chat said Pritchard signed a contract through 2028. So that answers your question about him going to get his own team. He must be very happy with Boston. I wonder when Drew's contract's up too. That'd be interesting. But anyway, for me on Chicago, it's probably Vooch, and then like I like AU if White's out again. Don't necessarily hate Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine was at a triple-double on Thursday night, so he still has a huge ceiling on a nightly basis. Sacramento at San Antonio, 227.5 total here. Kings a 3-point favorite. Both of these teams, I'm pretty sure, are on back-to-backs, right? I know the Spurs are on a back-to-back, but I think the Kings are on a back-to-back too. They are. They're currently playing against Memphis with 14 seconds to go.
Is it? Yeah,
14 seconds to go. So we'll wait and see on the injury report. Wemby sat on Thursday, but I really think that it was a back-to-back situation for Wemby. I think he'll be back for this game. What do you like here for Sacramento?
Well, I mean, it's just interesting with them because everybody's priced up now because of the situation. So, like, Malik Monk is 7K. 7K. DeRozan is 7,400, and there's probably some meat on the bone for certain situations. I still don't know if this is the situation. I just feel like everybody's priced up. Now, De'Aaron Fox has still been playing great. I don't mind it. And I also don't mind Sabonis because these are guys that have tremendous upside. But generally speaking, Steve, I feel like everybody's priced where they should be. I'm not really in on the Sacramento Kings.
And production's spread out, but I mean, the one thing that we love about the Kings is they play off their starters a ton of minutes. Like, if this is a close basketball game, these guys are going to play big minutes. And I think that's one thing that, like, always makes you gravitate. And I mean, you're going to get Kevin Huerter off the bench getting minutes, taking a lot of shots kind of thing. But I mean, Fox, DeRozan, Murray, Sabonis, probably all going to play 35 plus minutes in this game. They're priced really appropriately. I think they'll all project pretty well, but I don't think they'll project to like be value, if that makes sense. So they're all kind of just right where they should be. And I think if you're going to chase a ceiling game, you're chasing like a Sabonis or a Fox. I think those are the two guys that like present the ceiling in this matchup. San Antonio side, San Antonio getting pretty healthy. Again, I do expect Wemby to play. So like when we're talking through this game, like know in my head that I think Wemby plays. I don't think we see Keldon Johnson score 28 points off the bench again for what it's worth. So I don't know if I'd necessarily chase that. We saw Sohan have a really big game against the Bulls. Shocking. What are your initial thoughts here on the Spurs?
I mean, the Spurs are in the same boat. It's just the Spurs have been a lot cheaper, Stevie. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the Spurs, they've had guys in the 4 and 5K range. So like Chris Paul, 6,200. Not saying that we're going to play him, but like that's a reasonable price for a guy that's been able to put up 40 in a couple spots. Devin Vassell, 53. Castle, 48. Champagne, 40, 49. Johnson, 45. Harrison Barnes, 41. What's interesting to me, Steve, is they figured out a way to seemingly get all these guys 25 to 30 minutes. They've all been pretty productive. So in terms of these guys being cheap, I'm okay with it. I'm with you. Like I don't feel like Wemby sits in this game. So that will definitely impact some of those cheap guys. But I'm more likely to play cheap Spurs than I am to play mid-range Kings.
Do you think Sohan sits on the back-to-back after coming off the injury?
Oh, man. It's
because that would really benefit Castle, I think.
Yeah, I mean, do you think because it was just thumb surgery? That's my concern.
No, I mean, I assume he plays, but I mean, he is still young, and this team is young, and they kind of protect their young players, I feel like, more than most teams. But
yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked if he sits and like Wemby comes back. I don't know. We'll have to kind of adjust to that if it happens. I think Wemby has the highest ceiling in this team. I think that you're still getting really fair price tags on. I think you're getting fair price tags on Sohan, Vassell. For what it's worth, I think their price tags are fair. All right, we got Minnesota at Golden State taking on the Warriors. 220 and a half total here. Golden State looks like they're a 4-point favorite. Golden State on a back-to-back. They're currently playing, I think it's in the second quarter in that game as we're recording here. So we'll wait and see if we get any injury news out of them. And then I didn't see anything on the Minnesota side on the injury report. So outside of like Ingles, I think was still out. So starting here with Minnesota, anything that you're liking here for the Timberwolves against Golden State?
Oh, man, Julius Randle down to 7,300, Stevie. That feels like a great price for him. If he could get minutes in the close to the mid-30s, I think that would be fantastic. Ant Edwards down to 8,900, Stevie. Price is steadily coming down because of his lack of seemingly having upside. Past couple of games, though, have been blowouts. He's played, in the upper 20s. This should be a much closer game. And I know, Golden State dealing with some injuries all over the place, but 8,900, I think it's a great price for Ant for sure. Like a guy that we can get in there. So that's a guy that I really like. And like I said, him, Randall, and then Naz Reid is always in play for me for tournaments, when he's in that 4K range, just because of the upside he possesses in limited minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Edwards always a guy that has some upside. We really haven't seen it as much here recently. I think if you're an MME player, he's the type of guy that you get exposure to on any slate. I think Julius Randle's kind of priced where he should be. I think Rudy Gobert has a little bit of meat on the bone at 6,600 in this matchup. If they let him go out there and play. Problem is, I mean, they use so much DiVincenzo and Reed and stuff. The minutes are still kind of spread out on this team, way more than I like it to be, So,
yeah.
And Golden State has been incredible defensively. And it sounds like Curry was just like a rest situation for the first end of a back-to-back, so I assume he'll be back. And also Draymond, I thought they made an announcement like he could potentially be back too. So, for years we really haven't talked about like the Warriors like defense, but I mean they have been steadily top 5 in defensive rating, I feel like, all year long. So they've been a tough matchup for basically all year. And I mean, Minnesota's a pretty good defensive team too. I think they're like 6th or 7th in defensive rating. What do we like here for Golden State?
Yeah, so for me, Golden State's been the new Spurs, Stevie, right? Like just playing guys lower minutes, and I don't mind Curry in the right situation. I don't know if this is the right situation, Stevie, because this feels like a game where he plays closer to 30 minutes than 35, 36 minutes. So, they're going into the Cup next week. So I'm not thrilled about his price and his opportunity. Podziemski at 5,300, maybe. I wish Buddy Hield was playing more minutes, man. I thought at the beginning of the season, Stevie, I legitimately thought he was going to be a 25-minute guy every game. Just not the case. We've seen the emergence of Andrew Wiggins again. He's been playing really good basketball, but he's 6,600. I don't think it's worth it. I just feel like, the Warriors players are just kind of priced out. So I'm off the Warriors.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of people, including myself, very high on Kuminga. I bet his point prop on Thursday night. But if Draymond and Steph are going to come back, with the way this game should play out, with both of these teams being really solid defensive teams, Golden State does typically like to push the pace, so I'm more likely to play like Minnesota players. But I mean, Minnesota probably going to try to slow this game down, so I don't know. It's not my favorite game, and I know we keep saying that, but I mean, we have really good spots on this slate. We talked about like the Indiana-Chicago game. We talked about the Lakers-Atlanta game, and then we get to finish with this last one that is really solid. It's Utah at Portland. 225.5 total. Portland a 2.5 point favorite. I was looking, and the injury report didn't update yet for this game, which I thought was somewhat interesting because usually they have it. So no injury report, but we assume that Clarkson, he's already been ruled out, so he won't play in this game. Robert Williams has already been ruled out with a concussion, and we know that Klingman is going to be out for a little while. It's more whether or not like Scoot Henderson plays or not. He's questionable. That matters a lot. Going to the Utah side here first. I mean, I know this guy's burned us so many times this year, but do we just like have the short memory and go to a Sexton or Keontae George? Like Portland has been really bad at defending point guards this year.
If I do, it's Keontae George. It's not Sexton. I can tell you that.
That guy.
I can't. I haven't played Colin Sexton all year outside of like everybody being out, and maybe he was 5K or something. But that's about it for me. If I did, it would be Keontae George. Like Clarkson's kind of been my guy from this team when I had interest in guard play. Laurie Marketing at 7K is too cheap. I don't care what Stevie. This is like seriously. This might be one of the best plays on the slate at 7K. Man, that's a great price to just channel some upside from him. John Collins is 7,200, and thank goodness John Collins has stable minutes this season. This could be a good spot for him. I think it's him. I think it's Laurie. I know Kessler's been playing minutes also. Don't mind him. Laurie, Kessler. I think I just want to play the big guy, Stevie. That's what I want to do. I want to play the big guys, leave the guards where they are mostly.
Yeah, I mean, that was my initial thought as well.
Don't you think Laurie comes in with the projection of more than 40 fantasy points in this game?
Yes.
I do.
Yeah, I think the marketing call is really solid. I don't think I MME this late. If I were going to MME, I'd probably play a little bit of Sexton and George just because of how Portland is. I'll say this. If you are a large field tournament player, take some shots on Juzang from Utah at 3,200. With all these guys ruled out, he has some upside because with Clarkson being ruled out, like second team usage is going to be Juzang. I was looking at the last couple games here, and he's going to be the guy. He's going to probably play 20 to 25 minutes off the bench. He's going to be the usage guy. He's going to get a lot of shots up here. 19 shot attempts over the last 2 games. So I think he's your punt play at 3,200 today. Portland side of this game, I mean, a lot of injuries at center, but I mean, a lot of it depends on Scoot for me. I think DeAndre Ayton probably, if this game stays close, he probably plays as many minutes as he can handle, which is kind of appealing because Utah, again, allows a ton of fantasy points per game. I don't mind Simons in this game. Advia, like, it's just a minutes thing. I don't trust his minutes at all. I would trust his minutes maybe a little bit more if Scoot Henderson ends up sitting in this game, but I don't trust the minutes enough. I think it's Ayton and Simons from Portland for me.
Yeah, I totally get it. Simons at 6,600. I think he was 6K the other night, or yeah, I mean lower 6K. But I'm definitely okay with it. His upside is returned as he's come back from that injury. Ayton's actually been really good when he's been playing. He's just got to stay consistently playing. So I don't mind him. You mentioned Abdi at 6K. Just in terms of probably not having as much interest, I'm with you. Like 6K has them priced out with these other guys rolling. So Tumani Kamara is playing minutes, but his upside is definitely capped. So yeah.
Maybe Banton. If Scoot's out, can we play Banton?
I mean, at 4,600, the price is really good. I think it's a good call. I think that's a good call. I don't hate that for the price.
So I'm in the third round of the playoffs for Scott Fishbowl. I really need St. Brown to score a touchdown here. I'm trying to get to the quarters. My team's really, really good for the Scott Fishbowl this year. And I am heavily invested in St. Brown scoring a touchdown right here. That would be phenomenal. So hopefully he could pull it off. Let's play the morning grind game, and then we will get out of here for the weekend. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. Who do you got?
Stevie, interestingly enough, despite this kind of rough slate, I do think there are a couple of options. And I just think I'm going to go with my boy Jonathan Isaac at 4K, man. He just keeps doing it. If that game was close the other night or closer, like in the Knicks game, definitely think he played more minutes. Give me Isaac at 4K.
Okay, this one is definitely assuming that one or two of the big guys are going to be out for Boston today, but Luke Cornett has found a really nice little role here, and he has been very active defensively for Boston. If these guys sit, he has a big upside. Like, he has big upside. So, I mean, when we're looking at this question, we're looking for upside. I like the Isaac call. The other one that I had originally written down, if Boston guys end up playing, is the guy we just talked about, Juzang for Utah. We already know a lot of these guys are going to be out, so like the potential for him. Over 8K to go under 5X. Who is your bust today?
Also think we got a lot of guys in this category today, Stevie. And I think I'm going to side with Tyrese Maxey at 8,800.
Yeah, especially with Paul George potentially playing here. I'm going to go Dame. I mean, I know Dame is capable of ginormous games. He's averaging 45 fantasy points against this team this year. It's right at the 5x number. I don't love him in this spot. Of course, it's Tim Patrick that gets another touchdown. Where's my boy St. Brown? Favorite?
Didn't even give it to our boy Montgomery. He had a couple shots, but man,
yeah. Well, I mean, Montgomery had a chance on second down. You got to get in. You got to get in on second down.
No, first and second. I mean, first and second.
Favorite 6x play today. Who do you got?
Lord Marketing, man, 7K. Stevie, that's what I'm not going to get off. Like, that's one of those ones you get on it early, and I don't care what injury news comes out. Like, he goes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
7K, man. Oh.
This guy it's so uncomfortable to play this guy, but Utah is allowing the most fantasy points per game to opposing centers this year. Give me DeAndre Ayton. It's always uncomfortable playing him. It really is, but I really like DeAndre Ayton today. Favorite GPP ceiling play? Who do you think has the highest ceiling on the slate?
You probably know where I'm going, and it's somebody that I don't think anybody else wants to play, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo at 12K. I think he's up there. Nobody wants to play him against Boston. Could easily put up 70 here. Give me Giannis.
I like that. I mean, I talked about it earlier. I think the Lakers get back to doing what they've been doing, right? I feel like it's happening. Give me Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis has a huge ceiling today. So I'm going to go 80 because I hope that's where we're going to be at. Favorite, let's get weird GPP play today. Who do you got?
Man, I don't have a weird one. I do have a favorite one. But I guess my weird one, Stevie, if it comes to that, it's Anthony Edwards at 8,900 because of the price. I just think it's a little bit too cheap. My favorite GPP play is actually Tyrese Halliburton, for what it's worth. But let's get weird. I think Anthony Edwards is off the reservation tonight. I don't think people are super interested. 8,900, sign me up.
I like it. My let's get weird GPP today is Peyton Pritchard. He's just absolutely chucking threes right now. I think that there's some upside at 5,800 still. I mean, when you play around the guys that he plays around, he has upside because he's going to get open shots, and he's taking advantage of it. He's shooting the ball really well right now. I know people don't love like the hot hand narrative, but I mean, I think when a shooter's shooting well, they're not going to stop shooting, and confidence, especially at the NBA level. Like if you have confidence, they all know how to shoot. I mean, that's why they're in the NBA. So give me Peyton Pritchard. Any bets that you like here on this slate?
Oh man, Stevie. I was ready for this and then I wasn't ready. So give me a second.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't bet anything yet. I am going to actively be looking in the morning for the DeAndre Ayton lines because Utah. I think Utah's on the back-to-back, right?
Give me Utah plus 2.5 at -105.
There you go. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Negative, my brother. Glad to come on and talk through this with you. Can't wait for like quarterfinals next week for the Cup. I just really want to make that clear. Can't wait. And Stevie, so what's cool is my first basketball game this season is on next Tuesday, and I get to walk out of that game, go home, and crank up NBA for the Cup quarterfinals. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm sad. My volleyball team that I coach practices on Tuesday nights, and we all know the Magic. They're playing on Tuesday nights, so I'll come home. The game will probably be almost over. I usually get home around 9:30 from practice, and I'm like, probably. I mean, I think Orlando has a really good chance to beating Milwaukee in the first game here in the quarterfinals. So I'm hoping, but I mean, Giannis can just take over games. I feel really confident in the Magic if Paulo was playing. But
Yeah, imagine if he was in that. This would just make it even more fun. But
I
totally get it.
Well, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. I think it's me and you again. I think we're both back on Monday. I'm pulling it up, but pretty sure that we're both back on Monday. Just pulling up the schedule really quick. Monday, yep, Will and I are back. We'll have no podcast on Monday, podcast on Tuesday next week. The NBA schedule is a little wonky next week because of the cup stuff. So I don't even think there's any games on Monday. There's one game on Monday, so we're not going to be on. So we'll be off on Monday. We're back on Monday night. Tuesday, Will and I are going to come on, and we're going to talk about the 2 games, like all 4 of the NBA Cup games on Tuesday. So we'll break down Tuesday's games and Wednesday's games for the NBA Cup on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So see everybody on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then.